Hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your source for the finest 2A propaganda brought to you by TNVC.com. First up today is a story about how Uncle Touchy's secret basement wonderland is hoarding an illegal gun registry with about 1 billion records in it. Back in November, we reported that 52 Red Team Congress critters wrote an open letter to the ATF,
the AFT,
reminding them Congress specifically prohibited them from maintaining a gun registry and warning the AFT not to attempt to circumvent that law with their recent proposed rule change, which would require all FFLs to store transaction records forever or turn them over to the AFT. Recently, the AFT replied to that letter with the information requested. Well, some of it. The AFT admitted they have almost 1 billion firearm transfer records, and the overwhelming majority are already digitized, with only about 55 million still waiting to be digitized at 244 Needy Road, Martinsburg, West Virginia. The AFT says there is no way for it to know if a trace they conduct results in a conviction, but they completed about 318,000 traces just last year. They never got around to explaining how their gun registry is not a gun registry, though. If you look up Absolute Chad in the dictionary, you'll find the examples listed are James Reeves and the Firearms Policy Coalition. The FPC has a coven of powerful lawyers schooled in the dark arts, but practicing for the good of man. They recently filed a suit against the United States government on behalf of a man who was denied the right to buy a gun over a misdemeanor charge from 4 decades ago. Ralph Newton got in a bar fight in 1981, spent a week in jail, and paid a $50 fine. The FBI put him on the naughty list because they say it could have been a domestic violence misdemeanor, and it's up to him to prove it isn't. That's pretty messed up, right?
Wait till I get going.
The really perverse part is the only way for Newton to prove his case would have been with the court records from the case, but those were destroyed by the government. I mean, it's wrong to infringe on a man's rights without proof. And it's even more wrong to require him to prove his own innocence. But it's just plain ludicrous to ask him to provide proof which doesn't even exist anymore. Adam Kraut, FPC's Vice President of Programs, said, "It is the government's burden to prove that a person may not exercise their fundamental individual right to keep and bear arms. But in its policies and practices, the federal government flips that rule on its head, instead requiring that people prove that they are not prohibited from possessing and acquiring firearms." If you like the cut of their jib and want to help the FPC keep their lawyers fed and watered, please go to firearmspolicy.org/donate and shell out a few caps. Besides, everyone knows you would only spend that money on chicken tendies and chalky milk anyway. If you can't afford to donate to a gun rights organization but you still want to stand up for gun rights, you can help by calling 804-698-1788 to tell a Virginia House member to support House Bill 827. HB 827 recently passed out of committee and should see a floor vote soon. It reestablishes a state preemption clause, which will roll back the ridiculous, arbitrary, and bewildering patchwork of conflicting local gun laws which sprang up after Virginia repealed its preemption law a few years ago. Industry news. Century Arms introduced a new American-made AK shot this year. If you happened to watch our shot coverage of the BFT, then you're ahead of the game, kid. But for the rest of you, the BFT-47 has a thick 1.5mm receiver, extended mag release, selector with a cutout for bolt hold open and a little ledge for your pointing finger, and a bulged front trunnion for that Yugo look, as well as a long list of other features the internet said it wanted. MSRP is $830. Primary Arms announced their new SLX 3x magnifier with Pegasus ranging reticle, and I got my sticky fingers on one. I'll be reviewing it along with a whole mess of micro prism sights they released over the last few months. What sets the Pegasus apart from other magnifiers is its small form factor and built-in ranging reticle. You'll still have to work the come-ups for yourself, but if you know what your holds are, or if you're using an optic with a bullet drop compensator, the addition of a ranging scale can dramatically improve hit probability. The Pegasus uses the now more or less industry standard H1/T1 pattern, so you should have no trouble finding mounts, but Primary Arms also got you covered there, releasing their own flip-to-side mount, which will retail for $80. The Pegasus 3X magnifier will retail for $170. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today, but before I go, I just want to take the time to remind you to check and see whether you are still subscribed to our channel. Our robot overlords in the tube of yous know what we want better than we could possibly know for ourselves, so they just go ahead and unsubscribe viewers from any channels they think express wrongthink. Like this one. You folks out there in TV land know censorship makes puppies cry, and Captain America is very disappointed. So, don't forget to check every now and then just to be sure you're still subscribed to us. And while you're at it, make sure you ring that notification bell so you never miss a word of our gun rights propaganda. And if you want to get email alerts for the best deals, the projects we're working on, and the hottest stuff you missed on the ARFCOM forums, you'll also find a Linktree link down there in the doobly-doo for our newsletter. And remember, if you want to help us keep bringing you banger content like this, please support the folks who support us. Not only does TNVC.com give you night vision with that cool, refreshing, never bitter taste that goes down smooth, they also have mounts, lights, training, swag, and all sorts of other 99% cruelty-free gear to make you the bump in the night. I love you. In the ghetto, on a cold and gray Chicago night in the ghetto, and every little baby cries in the night in the ghetto. In the ghetto.